Hi there, Isha here, and welcome to The Higher Life, where I explore two key themes that actually synthesize together to offer you a toolkit and inner resourcefulness that you can cultivate to live in a truly empowered way. And these are the two threads or themes of personal empowerment and transformational spirituality. Now, in the past, the higher life has been very focused on taking concepts that are considered esoteric, psychological, new age, and spiritual, and really unpacking these in a way that you can distill or extract the insight, the tool, the wisdom, and actually apply it in your practical, everyday, ordinary life right now to create a radical positive shift. But what I want to start to lead you towards is the larger transformational journey that you're on when you engage in this kind of work. We call it personal transformation. And each of the tools that I discuss here, or the experiences that we have as human beings, such as loss, grief, love, all these things really play into a larger evolution that we are going through as a whole species, as a humanity. And each and every one of our lives, no matter how ordinary or mundane or limited it may appear on the surface in our superficial everyday going about being who we are, there is a larger story or a larger journey that is happening. And once we wake up to this journey that we're actually on as a collective, as a species, we can align our personal lives in a far more powerful way. And I really wanted to intro today's episode or lesson with this reminder that we're on this journey of personal transformation together, and that it is our spirit nature, our soul nature, our essence nature that will really be the catalyst that will offer the strength for us to, evolve into a more empowered humanity. And the work I do is really in service of this, of really picking up on the distress and the despair and the disappointment, which is the theme of today's lesson, that we're all feeling as a collective and in our individual lives. And this sense that we could be living in a far more joyful, a far more unified way, with a lot less destruction, a lot less chaos, a lot less death or unnecessary death. And what a beautiful world that would be to wake up to. So today's episode is really about what is disappointment, or more to the point, how does disappointment actually serve in our empowerment? How does it transform our nature, so to speak? Now, this comes down to understanding the role of disappointment. You really need to be able to sit with your ordinary daily life and really seek a deeper meaning for everything that you are going through. But when I say seek a deeper meaning, I don't mean assign a more positive version of events over something that is going on for you. And I do know in my own life and with all the people that I've worked with over the years, but specifically actually now raising a teenage daughter, how powerful disappointment can be, how intense it is to feel that experience in our body. In coaching, we call it the disappointed dream. So when people come in and they're feeling really disappointed, there's some sort of dream or some sort of outcome or goal or need that hasn't been met. And if you've been following my episodes for a while now, you understand that a big part of my work is really about looking back on our childhoods and understanding a lot of these psychological and emotional needs that weren't met, especially in the middle class or in the area where a lot of the physical or superficial needs were met, and in a really opulent way. I grew up in a culture which all my physical needs were met and more. I went to private schools, I traveled the world. I could say that I had a pretty good upbringing in that regard and had lots of opportunities made available to me, and still do, based on the privilege of the system that I was born into. However, I was also born into a system where there was a lot of psychological and emotional immaturity. Addictions are very prevalent in these kind of systems. And what makes this a very complicated upbringing is that it's confusing, because on one level you have everything you need, and on another level, at a deeper level, you're missing something that you need, but you don't even realize that it's missing because you've never had it. And it usually only becomes available to you, this wisdom, when you become a parent yourself, or you're an adult and you realize that you're operating in really immature ways in your relationships. You're easily triggered. You're easily disappointed. And disappointment has been a big teacher in my life. So how does disappointment serve in our personal transformation? Well, what it really does is it brings to light the dependencies that we still have as an adult that are remnant from a childhood in which certain needs were not met. So let me put that more practically. We are often disappointed by our relationships, for example, especially in marriage, or disappointed by our family experiences with our family of origin, or our family that we are raising, or friendships. These kind of intimate relationships can often be extremely disappointing. Another area is career. Especially as a woman, I feel in this modern times where I was really prepped throughout my education and youth to be really excited about all the possibilities that I had available to me as a woman, with this education. Then you go out into the career world and it's often extremely disappointing. The kind of competencies that you have available, the inspiration, the creativity are just not being utilized in most workforces. And what you do face is a lot of complex relational challenges based on a whole lot of adults operating in an adult environment, but through these unmet needs, through these childish unmet needs. We call it an adult-child behavior. So there's a lot of disappointment in our lives. And when I look at my daughter, who's in her 14, 15, 16, this period, there's a lot of intense emotions that go through your system as an adolescent. And I know that I didn't get what I needed as an adolescent to really mature and evolve psychologically and emotionally. So, in my adult life, this disappointment, it comes up all the time. Now, if I would be younger, like my daughter's age, or, younger and through to young adult, my wisdom or the capabilities that I would have at that time would drive me to seek outwards, out in the world through, for my daughter's example, friendships, looking for new friendships or opportunities or ways to feel better, or ways to meet that unmet need, or that need that's just evolving, like a need for belonging and connection and intimacy outside the family system. If you're an adolescent, you need a new tribe to belong to. And it's very natural and healthy to seek outwards like that. But when you're an adult, or my age, in my 50s, that no longer is the way that our needs can be met. And if those needs weren't met when we were an adolescent, then it's still an unmet need in me, for example. So when I enter into relationships or marriages, for example, and that childish or adolescent need is not being met by my marriage, it triggers in me a sense of fear or despair or disappointment. And despair is often the result or the underlying deeper feeling behind disappointment, that idea that need's never going to be met because this person that I've married, or these friends that I have, or this job that I'm doing isn't doing the job. It's not fixing that unresolved loss from way back. Now, most of the time when people are operating in their superficial lives, they don't think like this. They just think, you are really disappointing me. This marriage is really disappointing. This experience of being a woman in the career force is really disappointing. And you'll fight back, or you'll try harder, or you'll compensate. These are typical ways that we react when we're in this adult experience of not having certain needs met. And we revert back to sort of adolescent ways to have that need met by seeking more of, or trying to change. I mean, how often do we change marriages because the one we're in hasn't resolved or solved or met the need that we think we need met, and bang, we're off to the greener grasses, and then often get over there and realize we're dealing with the same issues. So disappointment as an adult is such a powerful portal. And we always talk about it as a portal because it gives you an opening into a more introspective and more truthful look at what's motivating you in this relationship. What's motivating you in the career that you've chosen? What need are you trying to get met? Or is it really coming from a genuine place of wholeness, authenticity, joyfulness, happiness, curiosity? For me, I like a good challenge. So, I choose I've chosen a professional pathway, for example, and even a personal pathway that is challenging. You know, I have to do a lot of work without ever knowing if it's ever going to go anywhere or if anyone's ever going to benefit from it. So it has to be a very self-fulfilling experience for me. I get a lot out of the process of putting myself in these positions and wanting to seek a deeper insight and perhaps creating videos like this. There is something joyful in that for me, but it's still challenging. I still get sick of it. It's never perfect. But what the disappointment will bring into your awareness is where you're still dependent. You know, I have frequently in my life been disappointed by marriage, for example, and this is not to say that my husband is a disappointing husband, because he's not. He's a very good person to be in a partnership with. But I think I got disappointed about what I thought marriage was going to offer me, or any kind of intimate relationship was going to fill that hole, create that kind of fuel that I needed to feel like I could go back out into the world and face it, that love, you know, that unconditional love. And what I've learned is it's too much pressure to place on a marriage or on any type of intimate relationship between two human beings for a good reason. We are actually being called forth to find our way home. And that home is that inner resourcefulness that we all have as spiritual beings to nurture and nourish our own lives, our own individual experience of being alive. Now, when I was a child, I didn't have that resourcefulness. Yes, it was somewhere as a potential seed in me, but I was very reliant on a system, a human system, a family system, an educational system to give, to fuel, to nurture, to nourish, to offer me inspiration. And that's a healthy state to be in. Now, if I didn't get that because of the immaturity of my family system or education system, or for whatever reason, I could have grown up in war, you know, that's going to be a kind of deficiency in my maturity. At that, as an adult, I haven't got what I needed to really individuate and mature in the way that I want to, in order for me to be a fully self-fulfilled human being. Now, that's not to say that I shouldn't be in loving relationships or with people who are capable of being loved and loving, of course, but I can't need it from that other person. That is, if they don't deliver, I'm somehow left incapable of living in a joyful and creative and inspired way. That is a very dangerous place, and we are all victims when we are living in that state. Yes, someone can harm you and hurt you, and you need to take care and make decisions to not be engaged with those people anymore. However, if the harm that you perceive is not actual physical harm, but rather a disappointed dream of a relationship that isn't real, that's for you to actually step back from and to start rethink and reframe your relationship to relationships and to relating. Now, I've found working with people over the years, you know, when you really dig into disappointment, you can really unearth a lot of resourcefulness within you as an adult to actually meet the unmet needs of the inner child that is still playing out in your adult life. But you also get to develop discernment. It's a beautiful tool, and it's the best way to use our mind in a more pragmatic way. Now, for example, if you're looking at a marriage, you may step back from the emotional extreme of feeling disappointed because you're not getting the appreciation that you think you deserve, and start to look at, okay, what does this relationship actually do for me? How does it support me? Now, in my own life, my husband's an amazing dad. He's an amazing partner. He works hard. He's very supportive financially and in lots of different ways. He's a great team player. And we, as a team, are able to achieve a lot more in our lives personally by the partnership that we have. Now, I have a very, very strong wound pattern still about not being appreciated, not being considered, not being able to put myself first, having grown up in a family system where I've really been wanting to keep that family system functioning and therefore have compromise my own needs, or maybe not even known what they are, especially emotional and psychological. So I've had to do a lot of work to build practices, daily practices that really nurture and nourish me in that way. However, when I go overboard and give way too much to my kids and to my family, or I'm just feeling really tired or generally I'm going through perimenopause and menopause, and I had breast cancer earlier this year. Sometimes things just wipe me out, and I don't know how to break those patterns of giving, giving, giving. And then I'll get very resentful and disappointed with my life, with my family, with my partner, and I'll lose sight of all the good things that are happening, and I'll get very fearful that this relationship is not the right relationship for me, or I could be doing better. And that really starts to play out, and that dependency, that addiction to needing that nurturance, that nourishment from another source becomes very active. So I know now that when disappointment is running my life, there is some kind of dependency that I still have. Now, this is not to say that I should deny those needs. That is what I did as a child. My only way of coping was, okay, deny that I actually need that, put it to the side, forget about it, and keep on going. The work as an adult is to go, okay, there's a need there, a very strong unmet need, and to step aside and think, okay, I need to go through this rather than deny it. I need to meet this need, to recognize that it was an unmet need from a time in the past that I can't really go back and do anything about, but I can make the space to really embrace and engage and befriend whatever this emotional trigger is at the time that it is happening. And just process it. There's no more to be done, just to allow the space to come and go. And over time, what I'm doing is deactivating the way disappointment may sabotage my day-to-day life and create a lot of instability and destruction and unnecessary unhappiness, because it's not really real. Nothing is perfect. No relationship is perfect. No career is perfect. Humanity is not perfect. We all want to live in an equal world, but there is privilege. There's lots of things that are taking time to resolve themselves, and we can't really force it to go any quicker than it is. But what we can do is step back and see things with discernment, use our discernment more, and be more fair and just in the way that we assess our relationships, ourselves, the value that our work brings to us. It's perfectly fine to have a job where you just like going to, because it's socializing with people and you get stuff done and you earn a nice income and it can feed your family. That's fine. This whole idea that we need to be more meaningful, more purposeful, it's just another form of this progress mindset which really wears us down. Now, if you'd like to know more about that, I suggest look back at some videos on the progress mindset. Today, I just really wanted to leave you with this one powerful insight. Disappointment is a very, very powerful ally in your life. Everyone that you know is experiencing disappointment because it's in the collective. We're at a stage of evolution or personal growth in our collective where we need to face up to our dependencies or codependencies on others, on our relationships, on needing to be seen and heard and understood in order to feel empowered, in order to feel enlightened and inspired. You don't need those things. You did maybe as a kid, but now you're an adult who is fully capable and has the inner resourcefulness to actually achieve this for yourself. So my invitation to you today is, if disappointment shows up, take a breath. Make a cup of tea, I make a cup of coffee, and maybe sit with it for a while and explore it and allow it to educate you and inform you and offer you this portal in to becoming a truly self-fulfilling human being, because you're actually designed for that. Then you'll actually be able to have these really beautiful, loving, dynamic, turbulent at times relationships with the people that you care about without needing them to be different than they are. And that offers you a lot of oxygen in your life, and you'll start to feel more vibrant. And it's really relaxing and reassuring to know that things don't need to change and people don't need to be perfect for you to be happy. And happiness is fluid as well. So, for you to be well in the world, that's all we really want, isn't it? To be well in this world, in this lifetime. So if this feels interesting to you, absolutely look at more of our free videos here at The Higher Life. Check out the Higher Life Academy, where I walk you through the path of personal transformation, or just use what I've given you today, put it into practice and see how you go. So until next time, take care and love life.